Q1 fiscal year 18 GDP growth has come below 6% at 5.7% versus our own poll of 6.4%, and this is a lot lower than 6.4% on a quarter, 6.1% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. I'm going to tell Maithili to quickly set the context of this. Remember, on a year-on-year basis, it's down from 7.9% to 5.7%. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, it's down from 6.1% to 5.7%. So those are very dismal numbers. We were expecting a slowdown, but a slowdown as sharp as that, which is below 6, is damning indeed. Maithili.
Well, yes, certainly, because on a sequential basis, everybody expected GDP numbers to look up, because the hope was that the bad effect, the negative fallout of demonetization would have worked itself out in the last quarter or the last fiscal. So clearly that hasn't happened. The consequences, the adverse consequences of demonetization continue to linger, it would seem. Of course, there is a fact that the global economy wasn't giving much help, but the fact remains that the hope that this slowdown would be temporary, would be transient, and that even though we would not be able to do better than the year-on-year number of 7.9, the hope was that the first quarter would certainly show a revival from the earlier numbers of 6.1. And if, as you say, the GDP number for the first quarter is 5.7, that is indeed very disappointing, Supriya.
So GDP number is at 5.7 and GVA number is at 5.6, which is as bad as the last quarter of last financial year, which was also 5.6. Mr. M. Govind Rao, I will ask you for your quick opening comments. I'm going to request all our guests to keep it really precise and to keep it crisp so that we can cover a lot of ground there. But Mr. Govind Rao, very quickly, GVA at 5.6% versus 5.6 in the fourth quarter, down from 7.6 in the previous financial year, and GDP at 5.7. This is a dismal picture.
I think it's very disappointing, and as Maithili said, the impact of demonetization seems to have continued during the first quarter. And I mean, I put more faith on the, I put more emphasis on the GVA numbers, and the GVA numbers virtually are the same as the last quarter of last financial year, which basically implies that the slowdown in the deceleration in the economy has continued, and the impact of demonetization has continued to be there. Apart from that, there has always been quite a bit of uncertainty about the GST related issues. So the investments might not have been, possibly are, pretty slow. They might not have risen very fast. I don't know what the growth of investment is. So all in all, I think first quarter numbers are very disappointing, and I hope in the coming quarters the things will start picking up.
I think we have so much ground to cover, and I don't know where to start on growth banks, because if you actually look at the growth numbers. Yes, I'm going to get you internals as soon as I have them, sir. Mining, as I know right now, is contracted by 0.7%. I'm trying to get in internals as well, and as soon as I have numbers, I will come to you. I think agriculture has grown by over 2.3%. So as soon as I have those numbers, I will come to you, Mr. Govind Rao, and I will go across to all our panelists on that. But Shogato, your quick opening remarks. So farm growth has been 2.3% versus 2.5%. That is agri growth. Mining has contracted by 0.7%. I'm going to get in more figures as we speak in just a moment. Industry growth is at 1.6 versus 7.4 on a year-on-year basis. I'm going to get in more figures and talk to you. Agri growth is 2.3, like I just said. Shogato.
So, 2 or 3 quick points. Not a surprise. We at Axis were about GVA of 5.9, and the number has come out as 5.6, as you mentioned. So not a surprise. So there are 2 or 3 factors playing in. So one, the continuing weakness, exacerbated by the inventory drawdowns and inventory clearing pre the GST implementation. So that's obviously played a part. So the second part, and this is very clearly reflected in the Q1 corporate sales numbers that we had looked at. The second factor, which is likely to have played a role in the lower number, is a fairly high GDP deflator, So from the nominal, already low nominal growths, you would have taken out high deflators with a rise in WPI, CPI, whatever things that we had. So those also are likely to have played a part in pulling the real GVA numbers down. But having said this, I think this was something to be expected. We didn't know the actual numbers, but it was very, very clear that it would be a weak GVA growth quarter this quarter, in the first quarter. And hopefully, I mean, things will begin to improve very, very gradually from here on, as we have just seen in the core sector numbers.